Let's explore what the Buddha meant when he said, like a dream. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. Do people who practice Buddhism sometimes feel like their lives are only a dream? The individual wrote, living in the present is awesome, and sometimes seems like the best deal, but also makes life look like a dream, an illusion. It is not one. It isn't though one. It isn't one though, is it? The following quote is attributed to the Buddha. All phenomena are like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, a shadow, like a dew drop or a flash of lightning. Thus should you meditate upon them. I feel like I'm driving a train, but let's try this again. I feel like I'm driving a train, but like I'm also only watching the scenery outside the window passing by, while I can only say goodbye sometimes. Life seems like an illusion, a dream. Crazy shit. So let's explore this, shall we? Edgar Allan Poe. About a couple of years ago, I was outside meditating, and a gal walked by, and on her forearm was a tattoo that read, all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. What deliciously hypnotic language. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. But Sturgeon's Law makes a lot of sense out of yin and yang. According to Sturgeon's Law, the majority of folks, including meditation teachers, come to approach life from the yang perspective. What does that mean? It means they think it's a wonderful thing to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. A wonderful archetype who followed this path is the legend of the Buddha's wicked cousin, Devadatta. Devadatta's goody two-shoes cousin Gautama thought it would be wonderful to be flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Those who are rigid have great difficulty with figures of speech. Those who are flexible don't have a problem with it. On every language and every culture, there are figures of speech. Why is that? Because every complex animal on this planet evolved to think symbolically. Language, evolutionarily speaking, is the new kid on the block. In Star Trek: The Final Frontier, I think the first reel of the movie, maybe the second reel of the movie, Kirk, McCoy, and Spock are vacationing in Yosemite. They sit around in a cringy scene, they sit around the campfire singing "Row, row, row your boat." At one point, Spock stops the singing and says, and I paraphrase, "Captain, life is not but a dream." Ostensibly, the figure of speech was lost on the first officer. To really get the import of what the Buddha was saying, we have to step off of the ice floe of philosophy and onto the riverside of neuroscience. The seventh fold of the Buddha's eightfold path is mindfulness. Which part of the brain is responsible for mindfulness? Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, whether we feel it or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system. Ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord. It did not evolve to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. What then? For what purpose has our sympathetic nervous system evolved? It has evolved to support perception and to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. We evolved to perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We also evolved to perceive emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We are not computers, and our perception is analog. We experience spectrums, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. All this perception could seem overwhelming. What then are we to do with all this data? That brings us to the eighth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path, meditation. So which part of our central nervous system is responsible for meditation? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, we are accessing our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord, as well as the tippy top of the cervical region, in an area that the big kids call, I have trouble pronouncing this, give me a second here, the reticular activation system. But those of us who piddle around in the kitchen would simply call it the brainstem, because let's face it, this bit kind of looks like a mushroom, doesn't it? Regardless of what you call it, every time we exhale, our parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Let's explore this a little deeper. Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we perceived during our previous inhalation could feel at least a little bit less solid, less permanent, less defining, perhaps even a little dreamlike. In our ever-changing universe, in our ever-changing body, we do not just breathe once over the course of 40 or 80 or 120 years. We breathe multiple times per minute. Our inhalation becoming our exhalation, becoming our inhalation, becoming our exhalation. Therefore, we must not be surprised when things vacillate between seeming real and then seeming dreamlike and then seeming real once again. Contrary to the ravings of poo-poo heads, the purpose of meditation is not to have trippy experiences that cause us to question the nature of reality and make us terribly boring at cocktail parties. Why then do we meditate? Meditation is just a fancy term for cooperating with both phases of our autonomic nervous system, which evolved to help us cope with all that we experience without and within. Sadly, mindfulness and meditation want to transform you into Gandalf the Grey or Morgana the Magnificent. But it can help you to be the person that your dog already thinks you are. I think that's a pretty good deal. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The visceral experience of momentarily experiencing our perceptions as being dreamlike at times could feel overwhelming. It could feel like there's something important and we're just not getting it, and perhaps we're passing up an opportunity, or perhaps we're failing to do what we ought. How do we transcend that? How do we make sure that our dreamlike experiences empower us more than overwhelm us? Please consider this lithograph. Observe the gal who is the color of a cumulus cloud. Notice how she appears to be actively sporting in tantric union. First, this reminds us that contrivance will always be trumped by spontaneity. Now let us turn our attention to our partner. Her partner, the color of the azure sky. Notice how he appears to be passively savoring the same tantric union. This shows us that there is more than just one flavor of spontaneity. And number 3, it shows us that the scattered spontaneity, perhaps typified by our third consecutive espresso, the scattered spontaneity we might occasionally experience will always be trumped by the centered spontaneity that is the byproduct of our inhalations, mindfulness, and our exhalations, meditation. Whoops. So here's the deal. When our choices and our utterances and our deeds flow with the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, our lives could become as blissful as the paradise or pure land, or if you prefer Sanskrit, the vati of a real or imagined Buddha. Our job is not to know everything. Our job is not to be controlling, nor is our job to be scattered. Our job is to surf the centered spontaneity that is generated through our regular and healthy practice of mindfulness and meditation. I do look forward to practicing the fine details with you together as a team after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Come, let us practice the latest iteration of All Good's easy meditation. Yes, for those with the misfortune of traversing the path of being rigid, fearful, and controlling, they'll probably look at All Good as an entity to be worshipped and supplicated, which is a big fat bummer. If you found me, you are most likely drawn to the path of being flexible and loving and laid back. And upon this path, we view All Good simply, whether All Good is described in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra, or whether All Good is described in Tibetan as Kuntu Zangpo, Kuntu Zangmu Yabyum. We simply view All Good as an archetype whose iconography reminds us of love, letting go, and the 4 bases of mindfulness. So, I was experimenting with fonts today. If you have any difficulty at all reading the word crown, let me know and I will adjust the font accordingly. So we're going to play with Lama Kyena, where we metaphorically invite the teachings to come to our crown. Please chant with me. May Lama come to this crown, may Lama come to this crown. May Lama come to this crown, may Lama come to this crown. May Lama come to this crown, may Lama come to this crown. And now, following the instructions we discussed during the opening explanation, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. Let us begin. During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite, let us silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. And during our exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the 1-syllable verb is. Let us do so for... Let us count the first 4 rounds upon our left little finger, remembering that a round is simply 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. During the inhalation, we can advance the tip of our left thumb. Please practice along with me. So on our left hand, we've just counted 16 rounds, which is splendid. On our right hand, we can count sets of 16 rounds. We just counted our first set of 16 rounds. And we can count an additional 15 sets on the various sets of creases and then tips of our other fingers on our right hand. You don't have to do this, but I find it helpful. You might as well. You'll also find it more ergonomically sound if you rest your hands in your lap. Or if I was really eloquent, I'd say, if, like Kundu Zangpo, you rested your hands in your lap. Excuse me? still waiting on the code, Kevin. Let us bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and letting go. Please chant with me. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with all follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance, explaining metaphors as similes. May all minds of all beings now be as peacefully enlightened as the heart mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a tikle one syllable seed or bija mantra. So we're going to take all these words and condense them into just 6 syllables. As we breathe in, seed whom wise. As we breathe out, for all minds. Together. May all relationships or speech of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's communication symbolized by the heart mala mantra. One moment, if you please. May all bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddhist statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yadam, an archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. May all circumstances or thoughts of all beings now have the good fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise Pirlando Vati. Again, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. This is known by many techniques, such as Dzogchen, Sutra Mahamudra, Ati Yoga. Trek shows slice through the duality of dread and desire. There's also another name I think I'm leaving out. Ah, Mahasandi. Let's see here. Concentration is rigid and requires silence. Concentration is rigid and shatters easily like a crystal champagne flute dropped upon a hardwood floor. Mindfulness is squishy like a Nerf ball, and it can survive noise, silence, anything. If you find yourself cranky when you hear background noise, it's because you're using structures such as the medial prefrontal cortex to actively concentrate. And that's just going to make you cranky. However, rely upon your sympathetic nervous system to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. And not only will you have a better time, but you'll be strengthening the neural circuitry responsible for empathy. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness into the figurative practice of the rainbow body. All visible circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. All sensual bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech. All resounding interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. All lucid minds could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be not graspable to the hand. In our compassion, may we long to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of ever. Hating, craving, and clinging, metaphorically known as the three mental poisons. In our pragmatism, may our liberation of all others be fueled by our reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, described by the metaphor of the three wish-fulfilling jewels. Having sat for the better part of 75 minutes, you might find it refreshing to perform a dozen or so geriatric slide back squat thrusts while performing the following recitation. This is completely optional. May we free all through the three jewels. 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 Whew. That was pretty invigorating. Let us seal this practice by chanting love and letting go's wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as healthy as a Yadam archetype depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void now be as fortunate as a pure land of law represented in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.